evening, everybody. Welcome to the CTC YouTube channel. Competitive Team Championship is back. The first stage is done. 3 full wet races we've had in that very first stage. And now we are heading to Bahrain, which, as you can see, bone dry. We finally got a dry race in this championship. I will be taking you through the action today. My name is Alex the G, and indeed, this will be a very, very interesting contest for sure. Victor's Racing Team are leading the championship after the first stage, 16 points ahead of GSP Esports after picking up victory last time out with Dadopad in P1 in a wet Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Max Power for VRT finished in second, with Juventus Racing also represented on the podium by Slinky in that third position. Only 10 finishes last time out. So I'm sure the drivers will be looking to improve on that ever so slightly. But for now, very, very interesting prospects here. I believe we will have 18 drivers racing here today. I'm not sure if the guys are actually still in the loading screen or if we've got everyone driving. No, we've got someone onto the track now. It's a Benelari driver, ZQ, actually first in the chat. So welcome indeed. And that brings me very nicely onto the new team. We finally managed to fill up the grid, even though it doesn't look like it's today due to lower numbers. I believe it is WR only fielding one driver today, unfortunately, as they have had Seep drop out of the team immediately after doing the first race last week out in Azerbaijan. And Schumacher 1 has also been removed from the CTC roster, unfortunately, for WR. So, in fact, they are turning up. They're not turning up at all, actually. It was supposed to be Dan Sprain, their manager, supposed to be on the lineup. But unfortunately, no driver for them today. So an 18-man grid. Hopefully that will be sorted out next time out. And Brent goes very wide there immediately on his outlap, meaning that it will indeed be XRT King getting the spotlight there with the first hot lap of the session. That'll give me some time to run through the lineups. We've got VRT represented by Tails, who unfortunately retired last time out in the castle section. While running in third position. Clarky is his teammate today, his debut today in CTC, as One Esports running with one Elliott and one Robin, in fact, in that Ferrari. I believe that is the season debut for Robin. GSP lining up with the championship leader in the driver's standings, Dadopad, who's won last time out, as I said already, in Azerbaijan. Dadopad lining up alongside Playtendo. Benelari with Brent and Appenvet. We've already seen Brent on the road. Appenvet is just starting his outlap now. Shako Bast and Quasar are representing VRA today. XRT, our new team, represented by King, who is just starting out on his lap now. So we're getting on board. Van der Bacon is the other driver today. But for now, let's go on board with XRT King negotiating his first sector just now. Into turn 4, going very wide, breaking around the 100-meter board. And misses the apex maybe slightly, but misses out on that curve. It is a banker lap after all. Just try to get everything as neat as possible to have a good enough setup for the rest of this session. Turn 8, a very awkward hairpin. He misses the apex there. Goes very wide. It's so easy to do. Also loss of traction on the exit. So he'll be looking to make up some time in the other runs. Turns 9 and 10. Such an awkward braking zone here in Bahrain. The front left tire does not like it one bit. And yeah, still is currently on for a lap. JR Nord actually just changing his username, which is very good. Finally, no confusion over what team he is in anymore, so good stuff from you there. And now through turn 12, flat out right-hander and into this braking zone. No real reference point you've got here for turn 13. Misses the apex maybe slightly, but I think he can get away with that one as long as he carries enough speed. And now down this final straight, the only straight really without any DRS. Passed on meterboard, he heads onto the brakes, does XRT King. And onto the traction, looking like a solid banker lap for the Haas driver there. XRT, Experienced Racing Team, are certainly looking to get some experience here. 1:28.5 is our first hot lap of the session. Williams crossing the line there. Benelari Brent with a 29.1. We've got a GTZ driver, I believe, just coming across the line now. Also King's teammate there with Van der Bacon just starting out on a lap. So it's going to be a bit tough, of course, to keep an eye on all these drivers. I believe Appenvet is the driver who's going to come across the line fairly soon in that Williams for Benelux Racing Esports. We've got an Alpine crossing the line next. I believe that would be AC. Yes, it is indeed. 28.1 for the Italian driver. Robin slotted to second, about 2/10 behind that, 28.3. No, sorry, that's Viare Kazar going to P5 with a 29.7, 28.7 then from Appenbet going into P4. Next we've got a McLaren. Is that Grosjean? It is Grosjean indeed. He hasn't had a strong lap. It's on the medium tyres, I believe, as well. 29.5. Playtendo slots it to second with a 7/100th gap about to AC there in P1. We've got an Aston Martin as well. Dadopad takes his teammates P2 away. That's now the top three, covered 700ths of a second. So close. 2 and 3 for GSP though. Strong start. Clarkey is another one on the lap. He's on the mediums though, just getting the spent lap in. Still in P6, 28.7. And his teammate there, Tails, I believe, has invalidated on his lap, so no lap time coming from him just yet. Rodas is the next driver for the GTZ Esports team, as he is looking to get some good points on the board. And let's have a look now. DRS is enabled for the Alfa Romeo man, 28.8. I think he'll be looking to improve on that a little bit more. One Elliott crossing the line now, goes into P4 ahead of his teammate, 28.2. And the two Haas drivers, I believe, now heading into the pits. Actually, it is Van der Beken completing a lap here, but he's not one to really show for. P10 at the moment, just ahead of his teammate. Oh, sorry, on my screen, the colours of Mercedes and Haas are looking so similar. My goodness, it is Van der Beken P10 and BRA then with Shacobas in P11. Fezzo, I believe, will be a driver to really keep an eye on. I think he might be a very strong bet for pole position here, as of course last week saw Schumacher's final race probably in the CTC Championship, and I think now it should be Fezzo with a very strong shout for pole position. We've got Jesla, I think, crossing the line now for Team Ace, sorry, not AC Sports. Meant to make that clear. Jesla into P6. 28.555. Got a Mercedes as well, or is that? No, it is a Mercedes indeed. I think it's Kazar, but I think we'll go on board now with Fezzo, as I think he will be one of the strongest in this quali session. Bit of a slide there actually from the rear end, out of turn 1 and into turn 2, but he's negotiated it pretty well, has Fezzo. Let's now have a look into his turn 4, going very wide actually. He's missed that apex a little bit. Now going pretty wide on the curb as well, in fact, and my chat box has actually it's not enabled me to see the sector time. He's very on the limit here, but I think he will be fine with that. We've seen his strong qualifyings in other team championships as well, and I think he's only going to continue this form into competitive team championship, where his team most needs it. Turn 10, hits that apex very nicely, stays in 4th gear, goes very wide, far onto the curb, bit too far maybe, as he does get that rear end kicking out. But let's have a look now into his turn 11, as he's going to brake very well. He does hit that apex very nicely, does Fezzo, the Frenchman. Of course, after Trust Esports folded, he was one of the drivers to get snatched up by Juventus Racing. 106.3. Good sector split here. Everybody really supporting this man here, and I think rightly so. Very strong driver, and particularly in qualifying, we've seen his edge over the competition so often. As he heads now through his final corner, he does take this esports line, if you will, and I think he negotiated that one very well. Look at the time he's got on the board, just 400ths clear his teammate, and a Juventus Racing 1-2 at the moment, as very strong stuff here. Juventus Racing on the front row, Dadopad Playtendo in the Aston Martin for GSP, 3 and 4, as one esports in 5 and 6 with that Ferrari. So a nice little team lineup we've got here. Now the further laps will be starting out already. I think Van der Beken might just be on one already. Yeah, he is. 2/10 up on his first sector split. So he's looking to improve. Currently only P12. And on that new set of soft compound tyres, he will be looking to improve more than he possibly can. As he now, through about 80 meters or so, 75 meters, he's braking in front of this turn. Now opening up this corner as much as possible here. Turn 12. The Alpine gets out of the way nicely there. And now a bit wide again on the apex, but it's maybe enabling him to get a good exit. It looked a bit sluggish, maybe a bit slow there on the entry, but it looks like into this final corner, turn 14. In fact, this is not the final corner. This is the final corner now. I know it's a bit stupid, but that's just how the Bahrain track really goes. As Van der Beken, does he manage to improve by about 2/10, puts his car in the top 10, but certainly nothing to really be proud of, I would say. As AC, I think one of the strongest drivers on this grid, has just started out on a lap as well. On the controller, of course, he is, so pretty much ideal conditions for him to try and put that car on the front row or even onto pole position, as he's already proved in the first run. Turn 4 again. No corner names here as well, so I'm just going to have to go by numbers, which is a bit annoying, to be honest, in my own commentating experience. He is improving by 6/1000ths of a second. Minor improvement for the Italian, but he is improving, and that is the crucial part. So let's have a look now through this turn 8. Good traction it is, as it is very, very important. Of course, such a rear limited track is the Bahrain International Circuit, and these drivers are really proving it here. I think the rear tyres will be actually the biggest concern in terms of wear anyways, as the Alpine is definitely looking strong. We've seen a lot of strong quality performances, but they're only in P5 in the standings, so they're going to have to translate this pace into the race as well, and they'll obviously be pretty confident that they will be able to do it. 106.2 now for AC, which is a tenth quicker than his teammate through the split. And that means that he's definitely got a good chance here at provisional pole position and make that Frenchman in P1 into an Italian in P1. He misses the apex of turn 14 though slightly. Mitwi asking if he's on pad. Yes, he is. He is on the control. And is he going to go into 27th? No, just about isn't. Goes fastest still by about 4/100ths of a second over his teammate. We've got more drivers crossing the line soon. I believe Grosjean is one of them who's currently on a quick lap. 28.6 goes into the top 10 with P9. We've got a Williams crossing the line. I believe he is starting on a hot lap. Mercedes coming just now. Kazar, I think, has just finished a hot lap. We've got a Mercedes, the other Mercedes actually, Shakobas goes into P6. So a good second attempt there from Shakobas, the Frenchman, puts it into P6. And next we've got Clarkey with a 6.1 in the middle sector. That is even quicker than we've seen from AC. And I think VRT underlining their championship ambitions here. This could be a provisional pole lap here, potentially even into the 27th, as a Clarkey now into the DRS straight. Clarkey goes fastest by almost 2/10. What a statement lap that is. Playtendo is next, but he hasn't validated on his lap. XRT King looks to be next. He's got a bit of a wiggle on into the final corner. I think it could be into the top 5 still. P7 it is only, but look at how close it is. I think there's more time in there. One Elliott improving slightly, goes into P3, onto the second row. Got a Red Bull crossing the line. Tails, the teammate to Clarkey, of course, going into P3. And now Dadopad puts it onto the front row and makes it very, very strongly indeed. 2.5/100ths of a second are separating these top two. And the only two drivers, in fact, to be into the 127s. I think Jesla is coming soon in that McLaren for Team 8. Goes into P9, 28.2. XRT King has left the session. Hopefully he's going to be joining back soon, of course, for these final attempts. Not much time in the session, I'd imagine. Kazar is crossing the line into P9, into that top 10. Fezo just checked out, thanks Hadrek, but unfortunately he is currently just on an outlap and looking to start very, very soon. 5.5 minutes to go in the session. Pretty late, I'd imagine, if he wants another run. But at the same time, I would say these drivers know what they're doing. And if we just very shortly look at the gap to the leader, you can see he's just 2.5 down and is in P6. So that's how close it is, really, in this competition. Now we go back to the fastest lap, of course, detail. And yeah, indeed, Nils, he needs to be in a rush on an in-lap. I'm pretty sure you are Slinky, actually. So there you go. I think I got my names right there. Let's have a look. Fezo, final meters of this first sector, 28.1. That is the strongest split time we've seen in this first sector. It goes pretty wide onto that curb. And now very wide. I think he's got the exit down so well. And just look at him. He's really committed on this lap already. Turn 10. Very, very strong, superb rotation. Can he get it down here? Does he maybe take too much curb? Does he take too much risk on this curb? I know that we've seen it a lot of times, but I'm not too sure about it. In this session, I thought he took out the brake marker board. He didn't, thankfully. And now, can he carry this momentum into the middle sector? What is his split time? It's a 1:05.8. Now that, if I've ever seen a statement lap, I think this is going to be the definition in CTC Division 2. I think he's going to be absolutely gone if he gets this final corner right. We're going to go on board with him as well to see just how much he can nail this. And I think he's done it so well. A slight bit of oversteer, but I think he can live with it. And I think this could be in a 0.4, and it is indeed. He goes clear by almost 4/10ths of a second. Does he even need a final run? Wow, I'm left a bit speechless here. Fezo, 27.4. Incredible. Van der Beken now starting out on a lap. Currently in P16. Nothing. I don't think anything can challenge Fezzo at this rate. But it's the race where they all need to get this right, and we've seen it, unfortunately, all too often from Juventus Racing in various competitions. They need to say this all and get it all right in the race. But realistically speaking, Fezzo has got pole, I would say, with 3 minutes to go. I would say there's maybe even a little bit still left in the lap, but yeah, it's 27.4. I mean, incredible lap, and that's a statement if I've ever seen one. All right, final runs commencing fairly soon. I think Van der Beken is already on one, which is probably a bit against the cycle, I would say, simply because he wants to avoid that traffic. He's currently down in 16th as well, so might as well go a little bit early and save himself from that traffic threat, which is definitely coming out. We've got the two Benelli drivers on the lap first, and Alpine then coming out, which would, I suppose, would be AC. Van der Beken 3/10 up in the middle split. How much can they improve over the course of this final sector? That will be the interesting question. 16th right now, but let's have a look. Now, final turn. Does get it down fairly well. A bit of understeer and oversteer as well. So both of them really picked up, but he's in very low gears as well. He doesn't seem all too confident. P12 for the moment. Van der Beken, that'll be his final lap of the session, which is, now we're getting to the business end. I think this is going to be the time where, how on earth am I going to keep up? Benelli Brent will be first in that Williams. Benelli Esports will be starting a lap time out first with 1 minute, about 47 seconds left on the clock. The Williams goes first. Appenvet will be following him very shortly. Currently the slowest driver, not the last, but the slowest at the moment, is Benelli Brent, as I believe he's got the last driver. No, actually it is Rodas right in front of him. So on board into the end of this final sector. Let's have a look. Now turn 4. Evan, I'm sorry, but I can't make this Juventus Racing show, particularly if it is if it is not the same in the race. I'm just leaving it on the broadcast, right? But indeed, I do know what you mean. So yeah, we'll have a look later on once they do cross the line. The Williams here, Brent, currently on a quick lap. I don't think there's too much coming from Benelli Esports. They haven't been on a very strong campaign as it was so far. But this final sector is now getting very, very crowded there with the drivers on the outlaps. My goodness, I'm stumbling over my own words today. I'm not too well prepared. What tires is Enzo on? We're going to have a look quickly. He is on the softs, so he's on a fresh set of softs. If he does want to make it to the line, he's going to have to hurry up like crazy to even make it across the line. He's currently through this middle sector. So Benelli Brent very soon to the line. Currently on a 28.9. It doesn't look like too much of an improvement due to that final corner run. Williams now to the line. It is in fact only minor improvement. That doesn't improve his position. Appenvet will be next. His teammate in that other Williams. As there's just 10 seconds to go for that Mercedes there, so he's going to be very, very late across the line. And that all but confirms that, in fact, Fezzo will not be making it towards the line. There is slight tow, though, going on for AC. So let's have a look how this goes. However, no. They have messed it up completely because Fezzo went into AI. The car went into the AI control and AC could not finish his lap. So that is a big, big blow for AC, who has technically retired on the track as well. So not exactly ideal. So a Ferrari crossing the line. I got the colours completely wrong. Robin goes to P8 there. As the Aston Martin, I think, of Playtendo will be next to cross the line. But yeah, he hasn't validated. So P7, it is the best for him. Now a Red Bull. We've got Clarkey. Oh, as he spins out of the final turn. There is nothing to be gained there anymore. So most of P3 for Clarkey. Next up is Ace Grosjean crossing the line. Stays 15th fastest. The Mercedes crossing the line now. Shakova stays 12th. Clarkey, actually his tail staying in P5. Elliott onto the front row for As1 Esports. Daddlepad slots it into the front row himself for GSP. P2 there it is for the moment. Jeslar stays in P11. Got an Alfa Romeo now coming. I think that is Rodas. Yes, it is Rodas. As he is one of the last ones to complete this qualifying session. That's a good lap, if I may say so myself. P7, indeed, for the Alfa Romeo man. And then we've got Kaza, I think it's the last one, but he's not improving. Just invalidated as well. So that will be, I think, the end to qualifying. Van der Beken is done. Appenvet is done. So is Brent. And that means your pole sitter, JR Fezzo. Oh, but how will Juventus Racing feel? Fezzo's AI has unfortunately completely ruined the lap of the teammate AC. And due to that, instead of perhaps a front row lockout, in fact, Juventus is just P1, still pole, but only P5 for AC. So just waiting on 3 drivers now to complete their stops. They could just retire at this stage. But yeah, Van der Beken and the 2 Benelori guys are the ones we are waiting for. I'm just saying it now, AC did technically retire on the circuit, so make of that what you will. But here is your pole sitter. Juventus Racing Fezzo will be lining up in the top spot for this Bahrain Grand Prix, starting out the desert stage. And I'm sure he'd be looking to get a good start for Juventus Racing. Daddlepad on the front row with him, the championship leader, of course, in the driver standings there in P2. One Elliott, P3, with Clarkey in P4, the highest placed team championship leading driver there, Clarkey in P4. AC and Tails will be sharing the third row for Juventus and, in fact, the other VRT driver. Rodas and Playtendo in 7th and 8th with Robin and XRT King rounding out the top 10. Kazar and Jesla are in P11 and 12. The 7th row belongs to Shakovast and Van der Beken, 15th and 16th with Appenvet and Grosjean, and then the final row of the grid today, the 9th row, Benelori Brent and GTZ Modius. And I believe that, ladies and gentlemen, does line us up for a very, very interesting Bahrain Grand Prix, which of course is dry. I guess nobody would have put any money on it being a wet race. And strategy-wise, I would be expecting a normal hard to medium strategy, though, considering this is CTC Tier 2. Maybe some teams would be thinking, we might spice this up a little bit, go for a slightly different strategy, and maybe be able to cause a bit of an upset. I think perhaps Juventus Racing might be thinking with AC starting only, quote-unquote only, in P5, to maybe go on that set of medium tyres and get an early head start. But you never know at this stage. Slinky there saying, to be honest, this season has rained every time. Yeah, it has. It actually has. We've only had fully wet races. I've also seen from Evan, how much am I sending you if Juventus get a 1-2? Well, that's your own disposal, I guess, but I will not be bribed into this at all. But in any case, the 5 red lights are now coming on very, very soon. The Alpine is across the line very, very soon. 5 red lights, and the lights are out. The race is now getting underway. Fezzo's out of the way, and with a very, very good start. Daddlepad cannot compete with that. I think we've got Clarkey, who's coming up pretty quick behind the guys. Even one Elliott there, heading into P2 on the outside of turn 1. Can he make this one work? That would be a brilliant move if Elliott can pull it off. But Daddlepad getting some very, very good traction there on the inside of turn 2. Stays in P2 for the moment. One Elliott there in P3. So he has managed to overtake Clarkey after a bit of start confusion. He's actually still alongside Daddlepad here. Oh, loses the backhand slane. Now Clarkey is through. Can Tails profit from this as well? No, he can't. Into P5. AC loses the position off the start in P6. Robin, actually on the medium tyres, has gained a position on... Oh, still got a Red Bull there as well alongside. Robin is super, super fast at this race start. P6 it is for the Dutchman, but he's still alongside AC, who will not be giving this up without a fight. Oh, he spins around. AC is around, and that is positions lost. 3-second penalty. That'll definitely get removed. I am 100% sure of that. But look at how many drivers we've got alongside each other here. Playtendo is in P10. And is still looking to make up these positions. AC there, the biggest loser probably off this race start, losing 6 positions off his starting grid. Quickly going for the position change detail. There we go. We've got it up right there. Play 10. Oh, big crash. AC's out. AC is out of the Grand Prix. That will be a safety car. I'm pretty sure about that. Virtual safety car for the moment. It is indeed. XRT King was caught up in that as well. So big incident there right at the start. Just caught the end of it. AC is out of the race. And Evan, I guess there goes whichever bribe you wanted to put me onto. So, yeah, it's a shame really. But that's just how it goes sometimes. What a shame it is. No safety car coming out. In fact, a lot of pit stops though. As some drivers are either changing their wings, getting rid of the medium tires as well perhaps. One driver who hasn't done that is one Robin, who's made up 3 places off the start so far, starting P9 and already up into P6 with some great overtakes along the way there. The top 2 have stayed the same. Fezzo and Dadopad are holding the top 2 positions. I think we might be getting underway fairly soon. That was a big brake check, perhaps at the very end of this virtual safety car. Don't think it will affect things all too much. But certainly a very interesting situation there. On the race start, Clarkey is in P3. I think at this moment in time, it could actually be VRT scoring the most points, but it is only a second lap. So I'm not saying anything all too soon. We've got a spinner in the back. Appenvetter spun under the virtual safety car, which is a shame for him to see, losing him a lot of time. It still hasn't gotten underway, but I think now it's got underway again. I think Fezzo might have got caught napping ever so slightly. But then again, it was pretty unlucky timing there, right ahead of the corner. Robin, look at how close he is. He is now maybe looking to make a move on tails. Can't make it into turn 13. But Robin is definitely one of the fast starting drivers here on the mediums. Will he be going for it already into turn 14? I think he might be looking for one down the inside. No, backs out of it for the moment. Slightly deep, I would say. Slightly deep as well for Dadopad. Has there maybe been some contact? Because Elliott is now in the debate as well, alongside Clarkey. And could this be a 3-wide moment into turn 1? No, Elliott has backed off. So for the moment, Fezzo is almost a second clear, but Clarkey's almost alongside Dadopad. And it's very close. Tails is now being overtaken by Robin. Great move again. Robin is so quick on these mediums. Just doesn't get the move done though. Dadopad is still fighting away there with Clarkey. Clarkey on the inside for VRT. Can he make the move for second place? Now to the inside of turn 4. Good traction he now needs, and I think he's managed to get it. Clarkey will be having the inside now for the next corner and heads up into second place. Displaces Dadopad by 1 position, but Fezzo will be liking this. 1.051 seconds. Currently no DRS for the Red Bull behind, and he'll be having to make up a lot of time. As right now, there is in fact no DRS for VRT Clarkey. So we'll have a look as to how that will affect things. Dadopad has gone off the road. He has missed the corner completely. And hopefully for his sake, that hasn't affected things all too much. Clarkey's now pressing his DRS there to get back into DRS range of Fezzo. But definitely not the easiest situation, I would say, for him to be in. Robin has lost out against Tails in the end. With all that moving going on, we haven't quite caught that. Tails has stayed in P5. For VRT Esports. Has gained a position overall off the race start, but I think still Robin will be very fast to try and get past that Red Bull. Further down, we haven't got all too many battles going on. There's been a big chasm going on with 5 drivers pitting already under that virtual safety car. Mudjus, in fact, is completely on his own. 5 seconds and 25 seconds past anybody else. Robin, is he going to make a move into turn 1? He's making the dive. He's making the lunges. The Ferrari pushes the Red Bull very wide. Slightly difficult move to make there, but he does pull it off in the end. 4 and 5 now it is for As1 Esports. And a good move, I would say. It was hard but fair racing from Robin, and he is cleared up into P5. I think now it's the time to go onto the tyre detail to just see the strategies involved for those teams. The only drivers on the mediums off the race start, Van der Beken and Robin. Van der Beken, in fact, just making the pass on Shacklebast on the hard tyres. So up into P10 and the point-paying positions for Experience Racing Team on this debut race. So very interesting stuff's going on here. Robin, has he got the DRS? I'm not too sure. I think Fezzo's gone wide there out of turn 10. So that will invite Clark into the party fairly soon, I would say. Of course, that mistake is never ideal to make, as Christian and chat, bro's pulling a Schumacher. I'm not too sure about that one, mate. As WR aren't at least on the grid this time round, as XRT King is around in the first sector, one of the guys who has pitted in, so a big gap that he's got in front now. Fezzo, though, still ahead of Clarkey as he finishes his 4th lap in the lead, but Clarkey is so close. That Red Bull is very close on the back of the Alpine, but who will want to be ahead? Fezzo is not using too much ERS, while Clarkey had to use quite a fair bit to get back into DRS range. Yellow flag. We've got a McLaren. Ace Grosjean is round. He's going to get a penalty now as well. Indeed, called it. 3 seconds that are pretty undeserved in my opinion. And I think the stewards will agree with me on that one. Will Clarkey try something in turn 4? I think just a bit too far away is the Red Bull. But look at how close he can get. I think this is definitely not over at all. And Fezzo will have to make a lot of good work here. As I think now Mudjuice is around in turn 2. The mistakes are being made. And this early stage of the race, they can still get rectified, but it's certainly never an ideal situation to be in. Towards the lower end of the points, currently for Kazar, just missing that DRS in front to Rodas. Playtendo just making a mistake on the back of the Mercedes. And Van der Beken might be thinking, oh, maybe going for a move there. There's been some contact. Hopefully, of course, for the Haas's sake, there is no damage going on. I think Kazar has actually gone wide in that situation as well. And Playtendo is also out further as Jacobas has gone through as well. So Playtendo from P9 down to P11. And not doing his team all the best right now. Danopad is on the podium right now. Playtendo lacking a little bit at the moment, currently down in P11. Nothing's over yet for the German driver, of course, but it's certainly not the best situation to be in at this stage. But the battles are certainly going to heat up, I think, perhaps in the second stint in particular. As Fezzo crosses the line, he's now 5 laps into this Bahrain Grand Prix and has led all of them at this stage, which just really depends on who will get the tyres to last the best. I think we'll actually go into Fezzo's shot here for this. Dadopad's gone a bit deep into turn 1. Maybe that is someone like Elliott might be taking some profit of it. He saved up a lot of DRS, but can't make a move. The DRS train is obviously such a difficult place to pass in. And yeah, I think Elliott is really feeling the effects of that. But look at how close he's staying. Van der Beken actually just making the move there on Kazar to the outside of turn 4. Can't make it stick though, can the Haas driver. And the Mercedes stays ahead for the moment. Playtendo has also got past Jacobas. Meanwhile, unfortunately missed that. Let's see now the Haas. Van der Beken to the inside. No, he stays back. He's thinking of this smartly because there's DRS zone coming up fairly shortly. And not for the moment at least, but I think he's going to be very much on the back of the Mercedes. Just depends when he wants to make that overtake. Some very low gears being used there from my own driver experience, I must say. But I mean, if he's comfortable with it, he can always run with those conditions as well. So we're looking now quickly at Tails, because Tails, of course, he is the first driver behind One Robin on the mediums. And once these yellow wall tyres do drop off, I think he'll be one to feel the effect, as he most likely would miss out on the DRS range of one Elliott and would leave VRT actually with only one driver in that top DRS fight. Just depends when One Robin pits in for new, I suppose, hard compound tyres, because medium to soft is, while possible, I don't think is recommended and not necessarily faster. One driver I haven't talked about too much, actually, Rodas, currently in P7, just trying to hold on. Van der Beken has now gone past Kazar on the main straight, but he gets tapped around by the Mercedes. And that is multiple positions dropped. Now we've got both VRA drivers in the points again, but of course, in circumstances that you wouldn't necessarily want to see. Benary Appenved is now around in the middle sector as well. So many mistakes being made. Hopefully, there's not going to be too many lap drivers at this stage, because that will obviously not do the race all too good if there is these kind of factors maybe even influencing what kind of outcome we might be having at the end. Benary Brent there being passed by XRT King into P14, but the gap is so massive. Yeah, big shame for that starting incident, but I think sometimes you just can't avoid it. There's just these things happen in motor racing, and teams will probably face the equal and right penalties for it, depending, of course, how the situation itself already went. I haven't had too much of an overview on it, but the stewards, I'm sure, will be deciding the right thing on this. Fezzo, currently 8/10 clear. He's used some of his ERS, but I don't think by far as much as Clarkey there in second place. In fact, Fezzo, the only driver to really use this particular racing line in the final corner, and if he's very confident with it, then it is definitely quicker, as in the end you've got more space to exit the corner, you're running wider, you're giving yourself more space to get on the traction, and that is definitely gaining a lot of time. I think Mudjuice has just made a mistake there in the middle sector, and has been overtaken by Jeslar for Team Ace for P12. Just seen that one on the minimap. It's a very unlikely place to pass otherwise. And as I was just touching upon Rodas, he has actually just dropped out of DRS range. has the Alfa Romeo man. So he's currently fairly lonely in P7, and it would be a solid result, don't get me wrong, but those top 6 are really giving some great pace so far. Fezzo still leads the way, but it's definitely not safe at all in this race lead. Yep, double points indeed at this stage for VRA Esports. I'm pretty sure they'll be very happy with this if it does stay in the way it does right now. 2 Mercedes cars in that top 10, as I think Juventus Racing currently taking home some of the most points. Currently 15 it would be for Fezzo, but we've got, I think, 12 plus, how many have we got? 5, it's just, I think it would be 17 at this stage for VRT Esports. I don't think that was the best exit though from Fezzo, so he's going to have to try and get that one a bit better. As Slinky pole actually is 1 point. Yeah, you're right. That's an extra point, of course, for Juventus as well. Clarkey very close to the pack, but is not opting to make this overtake just yet. Mike in the chat as well. Mike the Quaker, absolute legend, of course. Playtendo making his way past Kazan now in that Aston Martin. P8 it is now for Playtendo. The German team, GSP, are looking to get a good result out of this. But you can see Kazan has got the DRS and can't take profit of it though. So Playtendo stays in P8 and makes that overtake. Clarkey must have made some kind of mistake there at the front as Daropad is through into P2. Elliott is in P3 and Clarkey only P4 now, so there must have been some mistake or some contact perhaps going on as well. As Clarkey there into P4, Tails in P6. That is now a tough spot to be in. The 4th car in the DRS train is VRT Clarkey, and a lot of points lost at this stage, but yeah, still 20 laps to go, a lot of time to still make up those positions. Robin, I don't think those tyres are still... well, maybe they are still slightly better than Haas, but I can't imagine that being the case for much longer with those yellow wall tyres. The Ferrari is definitely still very close on the back of the Red Bull. I don't think there's damage, to be honest, for the Red Bull. It would just be a little mistake, would just cost him 2 positions at this stage. But it's certainly not the best situation to be in. Daropad is now following Fezzo about an 8/10 gap. And it's not easy at all, I think, to retrieve any of that advantage that Fezzo has got. But something is telling me there's a lot more straight line speed going on for the Alpine. As Daropad is definitely gaining a fair bit there, only on the brakes. Let's have a look now. He does pull out of the slipstream slightly, does Fezzo. And certainly very interesting. The racecraft will be coming in handy, I would say, later on, particularly in the race. In that second stint is where everyone's going to throw off those quote-unquote sandbags. Then that's when they're going to really start racing and just throwing everything at the race win as they possibly can. It's going to be chaos on the outlaps, says Slinky. Yes, indeed. I'm going to say the same, honestly. The outlaps are so crucial. Oh, Fezzo goes wide. Fezzo is wide out of turn 10. That gives Daropad the lead. And Elliott looks to be through as well in that Ferrari. Yes, he's through. Elliott into P2. Daropad now leads. Fezzo drops to P3 with a simple mistake into turn 10. Very wide goes the Alpine. And now we've got a new race leader for the first time in this race. Clarkey now on the back of the Alpine as well. So, ooh, very spicy stuff. Fezzo only in P3 now. He will not be happy with that. Clarkey gets a slide on as Robin will definitely look to capitalize from this at the moment. But no, he doesn't use too much ERS. Got Williams around in the first sector as well. There might be some lap cars going on at this stage very soon. To be completely honest, slight jinx from myself. Apologies. I cannot control this at all. Doesn't want to see us good. Yeah, I mean, read these comments at your own discretion, I suppose. As Fezzo is definitely a lot under pressure. That mistake would have flustered him ever so slightly as he goes a bit wide again. There's a yellow flag in the second sector now as well. That's now from Mayo, but he's recovered the car fairly quickly. And now this is a completely new situation. We've got Aston Martin in the lead. We've got GSP Esports after the win last time out. They are in P1 again. But just how well can they hold on? We know how quick one Elliott is. As last time out, he was obviously part of that 4 and 5 finish apologies, for As1 Esports, behind, of course, JR Slinky. And then the two drivers up top, Dadopad and Max Power for Victor's racing team. Fezzo is still taking this esports line in my books, if you will. And if he's confident, as I said, if he's confident with it, sure, go for it. As he doesn't seem to be losing all too much time while doing this. Of course, if you do get it right, it is faster. But it's a very, very difficult thing to get right, and that's why we only see him only pull this line off at all. Penalties, I would say, wouldn't come into the mix all too much, if I'm completely honest. Bahrain is a fairly simple track to avoid penalties in most regular cases, as I know from own experiences. However, this is the only concern I've got really with that line. Of course, apart from the one on traction, it could be fairly easy to incur penalties that are definitely not necessary. One Elliott is close to the back of the Aston Martin, but cannot make anything work. I don't think it wants to really make anything work. They've got fairly equal ERS rates. So does Fezzo as well, actually. The only one then lacking a bit is Clarkey. Robin, I would say, is on the same. And then Tails, yeah, he's got the most out of this train, but it's also the farthest back, and that's a difficult situation. He might have much ERS, but try to get this all working right. If you're right at the back, you just can't overtake really that well. The Williams around again. I think Appenbet is going to be the first driver to get lapped fairly soon. He's just about, I would say, 10-15 seconds up the road is the Williams driver, and I think he might be facing the spanking a little bit sooner than he maybe would have wanted as we're approaching halfway in this Bahrain Grand Prix. One Robin, I would say, starting to drop off a little bit now off the back of Clarkey, and the hard runners in general. I think Tails will be putting him under a bit more pressure at this stage of the Grand Prix. And I think his outlap in particular might be very difficult. We've got a spinner in the middle sector. That will be XRT King, who has made a mistake. Robin indeed is into the pit lane, which leaves Tails in a slightly tricky spot. He might have to use a bit more ERS than he would want to, but now it looks like the gap is actually fine. So he can get away with it. So let's have a look. Will Robin get the hards? I suppose yes, that is indeed hard tyres for the Ferrari man. He'll be dropping outside of the points for the moment, but will emerge very clear air. So good stuff there. At least that has worked out in his favour. But the gaps in general outside of the top 10 are very pulled apart. So very good stuff. I think in general, once the top drivers pit as well on those hard compound tyres, they'll be in very clear air and will be able to push as much as they possibly can on the medium tyres to try and get a good result. And of course, clear air is so important in the pursuit of good track position. Also, after the stops, there could be so much gained on undercuts, on overcuts as well, of course. And if they do manage to pull it off properly, then they are on for a very good race if they manage to keep their rhythm together. Of course, no safety cars as well yet to break up any rhythm. Only virtual safety cars we've had right at the start of this Grand Prix. After a crash in exactly this section between a Haas, I think an Alpine, of course, as well, of AC, who unfortunately had to retire the car there with terminal damage. Such a shame to see Juventus Racing there dropping out of the race with one driver. And of course, later on, with the slight driver error from Fezzo, putting him down to P3. One Elliott got very close to the back end of that Aston Martin car. And this could just invite Fezzo to try and make an overtake. No, thinks better of it. Meaning Elliott currently stays in P2 behind the Aston Martin. Will he make a move? He's now jinking out in this braking zone. He is making himself visible in those rear view mirrors. Jaco Bass is the first one to pit on from the hard tyres. So that's a very early undercut onto mediums. He just wants to have that clear track position, I suppose, once the Mercedes driver. Of course, someone who was so close to a very good points finish after doing pretty much the entire race on the same set of intermediates, but unfortunately crashing out towards the end after a late safety car. Big shame to see for the men in turquoise, if you will, in that Mercedes car. The Silver Arrows, indeed, Virtual Racing Association, they are. And yeah, big shame to see them drop out after such a good race. As Fezzo, again, going slightly deep into turn 10, manages to catch it though. Clarkey is definitely putting him under pressure now. And Fezzo, has he regained his rhythm? I'm not too sure. He's not 100% on it, I would say, after that mistake But I think once the pit stops are being made, that's when he's really going to get into his own again. We've seen his pace time and time again. And there is a reason why he's got pole by such a big margin. Almost 2/10 it was in the end to Dadopad in second. But as we mentioned, Dadopad, he is now in the lead of this race. He's led pretty much the entire Azerbaijan Grand Prix last time out. But who's going to pit first? Ooh, violent loss of rear end there for Dadopad. Manages to hold it together. But Elliott could be looking a threat at this stage. Tails is the first one in this leading train from to pit from the hard compound tyres. That'll be new mediums, of course. Rodas moves into P5 for the moment. Oh, mistake there. That is Clarkey, who has had some kind of error or contact. I'm not too sure about it. In all honesty, Clarkey's back down to P4. And he's now about 2 seconds down. He's left the session. Oh, no. Hopefully he can get back into this soon. But now that is VRT losing a lot of time in this championship fight. Robin making his way past Kazar, who's just left the pit lane, in fact, for new medium tyres. But who of the leading pack will now react to that pit stop from... who will that have been again? I'm sorry. Tails, of course. Yeah, Tails. Currently 10 seconds down on Van der Beken, so he's going to have to make up a lot of time. But Clarkey just joins back now as he's back into the session. But that's lost him so much time. He's now 4.5 seconds down on the train. Rodas has almost caught him up on those same hard compound tyres. So a big loss for VRT. Hopefully he can still recover some of the lost ground. But of course, that is never an ideal position to be in. So it's just the top three together now. Dadopad, Elliott, Fezzo. Who will be blinking first? Who will stop first out of these three? This is going to be a very interesting thing to find out. I think Kazar and Shakobas are currently very close together. So is Jesla, actually, there in the fight for P10. We've got a spinner. In fact, Ace Grosjean is around. Oh, late stop from Dadopad. He crossed the white line. I'm sorry to say this, but he crossed the white line on the pit entry. Fezzo, I think, headed in time. Fezzo is into the pit lane, both on the medium tyres. Elliott stays out. Rodas is now in P2 for the moment. Oh, but I'm not too sure with that pit entry from Dadopad. Crossing is allowed. Okay, thank you for clarifying. Apologies there. That's... Okay, that clears up a lot. Thanks, Isaac. Oh, Elliott loses the back end massively, and that does not help his cause if he wants to make the overcut work. He's pushing as hard as he possibly can. Shakobas sets the fastest lap of the race there with a 31.3, but it is a massive slide. And as Midway says, this could just work out for Tails, because look at him. He is already past Fezzo, and that has worked out an absolute treat. He's already ahead of Robin as well, which he was struggling before. Dadopad is right there too in that Aston Martin. And with the tyre warm-up, Tails looks to have won massively here. Clarkey is one who's lost out a fair bit, who's currently right behind one Robin, I believe. Yes, indeed, but the gap is not updating for whatever reason. Van der Beken then, one of the only drivers up there to not stop yet. The top four, I believe, are yet to make a pit stop. But I think Elliott, with the big slide, will have lost out a lot out of turn 4, I believe it was. So that is not an ideal situation. One Elliott is into the pit lane indeed. Will Rodas do the same? I would say so, personally speaking. Or will he carry on? No, Rodas into the pit lane as well. Will Playtendo do the same? Yes, he will. And Van der Beken on old mediums, in fact. Yeah, he heads in as well. So he's going to have some very fresh hards. But I'm not too sure about the strategy in general. Dadopad has held the lead of this race. But it's now Tails taking over second place. Fezzo is in P3, but where is one Elliott in all of this? We're looking at him on the pit exit and he's lost out. I would say he has lost out, or is he? He's just coming out alongside the Aston Martin. Oh, one Elliott actually does manage to hold on to the lead at this stage of the race. But Dadopad alongside him now. We've got Tails going almost 3 wide. No, he backs out of that situation. I think that's the better thing to do there. As for Ferrari going deep now on the brakes, he's still got cold tyres, remember. And Fezzo is invited into all of this as well. This is not over yet at all. Oh, Fezzo backs off at the latest notice. But Dadopad holds the lead of the race. Elliott, oh my word, massive rear end loss there out of turn 7, and now it's Tails with the switchback. He's going to be on the outside for turns 9 and 10. I think Elliott has backed out of it for the moment. Yes, he has. Tails is into P2 with a 9/10 gap and slightly older tyres compared to Dadopad, so he's going to have to push a lot. He's barely got any battery either. I think Dadopad is trying to get out of DRS range here off that Red Bull car, but I'm not too sure if he can manage to pull this off. Elliott now with the freshest tyres, but in P3. So slightly down on track position. Fezzo is right there. He's got electric pace at this stage of the race. But Elliott picks up the first time penalty in that top fight. And that might just drop him a fair bit out. Of course, with that situation, Fezzo is already trying to pounce on the Ferrari. Not yet, but look at how close he is. I'm expecting an overtake into turn 1 from JR Fezzo to get himself back onto the podium on track. Look at him. He's already going for it, the Alpine. He's already passed. And I think Tails might just be feeling the same thing, because he hasn't got any DRS at all. He hasn't got DRS either. And look at him. He's already looking to the inside and cannot make anything work at this stage. But still, Fezzo is looking like the one with the best pace and definitely with the most ERS as well. Daddlepad has broken the DRS range to Tails, but now Tails is being attacked by Fezzo. Fezzo is through for the moment. Tails is trying to switch back on the Alpine driver. Can't make it work, and I think Fezzo, now with the most DRS, bit of a slide into turn 6. Manages to hold it. But I think Fezzo now, the strongest pace, I would say, in this top fight. He's got 4 tenths to gain. Into DRS range. Tails has lost the back end massively. Elliott is now alongside him for turn 9 and turn 10. And yeah, I think no real fight put up there by Tails as he heads into P4 now. Elliott back on the podium on the road. His teammate One Robin in P5. And in fact, Clarkey in P6. So despite that disconnect, which is a big shame, he's still up there. He's there or thereabouts in P6. And still looking to try and catch One Robin on the hard tyres ahead, as he has a Williams in front of him, I believe, of Appenvet. That will be, yes it is indeed, I think disconnected and lapped, as Tails slightly wide out of 13. He shouldn't be doing this too often, but certainly it's not the worst situation to be in at this stage for Tails. He's going to have to recover as much ERS as possible, and now try everything in his power to go for whatever he can go for. But look at Fezzo. He's set the fastest up the race. However, he's out of ERS. He is out of ERS, and so is Daddlepad. So there's no real advantage at all at this stage for Fezzo, meaning that if it stays like this, Daddlepad has got the chance to win this Grand Prix. And Fezzo lost out a lot on the exit of turn 3, 1.5 seconds. Lost massive amounts of time, has the Alpine driver, and is probably now even more under threat from Elliott, if anything. As Tails, he's lost out as well, but I think he's still looking fairly safe at this stage for P4, which would become P3 if all those penalties applied. And if all these penalties applied are also in legitimate ways, which I think for Elliott they would be. As we've seen him go wide. I think it was a track limit extension there multiple times, as he gets a 3-second penalty for that. Currently drops to P5 at this stage, actually, behind his teammate, One Robin, but I think he'll be caught up fairly soon by VRT Clarkey, who's still trying to make up positions. And then we might still be looking for a 3 and 4 finish, maybe, for VRT Esports. Gap from Daddlepad, fairly consistent at the moment, 1.3 seconds, no DRS threat as it stands right now from Fezzo. But I'm pretty sure they'll be trying to use as much DRS as he possibly can, particularly Fezzo of course, but he's almost out, and I think the threat from Elliott is not over at all. Elliott Brocard, of course, for As1 Esports, currently on the podium on the road, but can he hold it? Of course, 3-second penalty, 2 lap fresher tyres than Tails behind, that could help him. But 3 seconds? I'm not too sure. Maybe if he can actually stay with the massive pace leader there, I would say he's the fast man on the road, is Fezzo. If he can stay with him, then I think it could be possible. Right now, there's no DRS for Tails on the next DRS straight. And that could be an indication to maybe that not being all the best strategy move. He has got the DRS, I think, in the end, as he just manages to push himself into the range. But look at him now on the exit. He's lost out big time. So I don't think it's going to be long until Tails finally drops out of DRS range. Now Elliott actually only drops to P4 at this stage, as Robin has lost out a little bit more. And Clarkey is definitely looking to put pressure on the Ferrari man to make it a 4 and 5, currently 3 and 5 after the application of penalties. But Clarkey has still got the better tyres. In fact, got the best tyre apart from Elliott out of the leading group. So I would say there's a lot of potential still for Clarkey to gain the position on Elliott on penalties. But Tails, now is the big one, I think. This is the first time he's missed a DRS for the long start-finish straight. He's still trying, but he's out. He's completely out of ERS, and I think that should be him probably done and dusted for the ERS debate there, and the DRS debate, as Fezzo has not noticeably caught up the gap to Datopad. And one Elliott, still on the back of the Frenchman. Two French drivers, of course, fighting it out for this P2 on the road. So, generally speaking, this is definitely a very interesting fight. But as long as Datopad can keep this together, he can go for its second win. Oh, Elliott, massive loss of rear end. He just manages to hold it together, but that might just be the end to his podium campaign, because Tails is now right on the back again. Right there. Massive save from one Elliott, but a massive time loss as well, unfortunately, involved for the Frenchman. 1.7 seconds now behind Fezzo. He's got a full second to catch up. Tails has gone wide, and on the curb, we've seen the same mistake from Fezzo earlier, which has lost him the lead of the race, of course. And that's, yeah, pretty much the same thing now. The top five is now completely pulled apart. Only Clarkey is now on the back of one Robin. And otherwise, we've pretty much got no on-track battles going on at all. The only one maybe looking at is Playtender and Shekobas. But that's down for P9. And at this stage of the race, there's really not much battling going on at all. It's, the most promising driver, I would say, from this is still Fezzo. But nobody has DRS at this stage. The only one who does, VRT Clarkey, who is on the back of the Ferrari. And while it should be a simple move, once he does get close enough, I'm not too sure. I'm not 100% sure on what they're trying here. Clarkey, is he going to go for it into turn one? Yes, he is. The Red Bull is alongside the Ferrari. And I think this should be a fairly simple move for Clarkey. And he's going to try to underline these ambitions, though Robin gets a good exit and will be picking up the DRS now for the back straight. Down into turn four. Multiple mistakes at the same time being made there in the middle sector. Robin now to the outside of turn four. It's looking very, very close. The switchback move now out of the corner, but I think Clarkey's got the traction down. Yes, it does. P5 now for the VRT Esports driver. And that should see Robin probably dropping off the back a little bit until those hards get a bit better. Compared to the mediums towards the end of the Grand Prix. As it stands right now, it is still very, very possible for VRT Esports to get a 3 and 4 finish together if Clarkey manages to catch enough of the gap to Elliott. I think this could also be the stage to maybe look at the warning situation a little bit here, because I've seen multiple drivers go a touch wide. I'm not 100% on how wide you can go on and whether drivers will be getting away with it. But at this stage, only Elliott in that top 5 with a time penalty. I guess you could say top 6, with of course Robin holding on there, still on his hard compound tyres. But right behind that, we can barely talk about anything unless we maybe have a late safety car coming out in this Grand Prix. As, we've got the Williams causing a bit of confusion. Yeah, that's not the ideal thing. But now from Mayo Brown, that is Mudjus there in the first sector, causing a yellow flag. But nothing really going on. Datopad and Fezzo having the exact same pace. Right now, they are equaling each other out perfectly. Indeed, you say it, Slinky. It is pretty much the exact same pace, 4 to 2. Datopad in P1, Fezzo P2. That gap has stayed about 1.2 to 1.5 seconds pretty much throughout this entire stint from the point that Datopad got clear and the mistakes were made, I think, by Elliott. It was. As Clarkey, 3-second penalty. That is not what you want to see, as Robin is now past him as well. Where's Clarkey in order to say? He's down in P7. Does that look like a disconnect? No, it doesn't. No, he's gone wide. I've just seen this weird jink of steering, which I thought might have hinted at a disconnect, but it is not, thankfully for him. BRT Dirk in chat saying Clarkey could have won without disconnect. Very possible. I'm not gonna say he would have won, but it's very, very possible. So still P6 for him. It's a shame that there's much more in him, in it at this stage for him, but still picking up a fairly solid result, I would say. My goodness, struggling with my voice a little bit. I've come slightly underprepared. I forgot my drink. And I can definitely feel the effects of that now. 6 laps to go, though. Of course, we will be making it towards the end. Well, I will. Will my game? We shall see. So far, also good. As a Robin against Clarky, they are still fighting away. 3 seconds will probably get removed for Clarky, says Dirk. Okay, that's good to know. Maybe we'll have a look into that one then later on. But Clarky, so late on the brakes. Into this turn 4. Robin gets the switchback. But again, brilliant traction for Clarky. Back into P5. And if that 3-second penalty can get removed, that would, of course, be very good for the Red Bulls. He will now be keeping that position to 1 Robin so far. Fezzo has got the gap to 1.3 seconds. 1.2 seconds was for a short time. But as you can see, still very similar ERS levels for both of them. Currently, it's only Fezzo using, and yet he's not gaining all too much. It's the Alpine. So Dadopad right now is looking fairly short of picking up a 2nd victory of the season. How big a penalty does Elliott have? It is 3 seconds. I'm going to show that quickly. Detailed penalties. It is a 3-second penalty for 1 Elliott, currently in P3. The same goes for, of course, Clarky, but we'll have a look into that one later, I suppose. Rodas gets a 3-second penalty as well. Jesla in P12 with a 6-second penalty, and then 3 seconds for Grosjean, Mudjus, and Appenvet. So, yeah, do we need more penalties? I'm not too sure, in all honesty. I would love to see a penalty-free race, but I guess until we get to Zandvoort or something, we're not going to get this. So, yeah, the drivers keeping their control fairly well. Bahrain, of course, not a track where you do get a lot of penalties usually. But realistically speaking, just 5 laps to go. Dadopad is leading the way. He hasn't allowed Fezzo into DRS range once, which is very impressive, if I may say so myself. We know how quick Fezzo is, and Dadopad has managed to keep that threat away for the moment. 1.1 seconds. It's not over yet. It's not over until the final lap, as that was a spin, it looks like. No, it's not. It's Shacklebast with a good move going on there. I've seen the yellow flag. I thought it was a spin from those drives in front, but it is Shacklebast making that move on Playtendo there for P8. P9 then for the German, P10 still for Kazar, holding on to that P10 position. But still, it is not over yet, and Fezzo is really upping the ante right now. 1.03 seconds. He's almost there. And now he would in fact be in DRS range as it stands at the moment. He's using all of his battery. He's out. 0%. So is Dadopad though. Now this could make for a very interesting final 4 laps. 1 second is separating the two. As Spicer says, Dadopad's wheel is not working well. Oh, that is not good at all for the German there in the lead of the race. Hopefully he can hold on to something, but it's not looking all too good, I would say, at this stage. Both of them, however, are on 0%. And 4 laps to go for this race lead. Who will be taking home the 4th race of the season, the next victory? Let's go on board a bit with Dadopad to maybe see what the issue could be. But this is definitely not an ideal situation. His teammate, meanwhile, making up positions at the back. VRA and GSP going at it there for P8 and P9. Oh, very close there from Shako Bass. Playtendo goes to the inside, though. Holds it in for P8 and into turn 4. It looks like the German is through. Pushes it wide slightly. Oh, contact! Contact between the two. Look at Kazar now, trying to make his way through. He gets past Playtendo. So, of course, not the best situation for Playtendo there. But they have managed to get the positions. Kazar's now up to P8. Shacklebast P9. Playtendo in P10. There's a spin again for McLaren there at the back. Let's have a look now at this particular battle. Playtendo stays behind the Mercedes for the moment. I think Shacklebast is going to try to hold up Playtendo maybe a little bit. He didn't look all too quick at the back. But just 3 laps to go. I think the wheel issues are becoming very apparent for Dadopad. Look at it. Yeah, it's not looking good. I think Fezzo might just be on for this race victory here. What a shame it would be for GSP. But still a very good race, I would say, from Dadopad. There's nothing you can do about these issues. So, yeah, let's have a look at this. I suppose Dadopad is still going to try to defend, of course, with all of his life. Yeah, but it's not looking all that great. He's lost so much of that great gap that he had to the Alpine drivers. So good to cope under that pressure and try to get everything right. But Fezzo, of course, knowing this info, will now be trying to put as much pressure as he can on the Aston Martin. But with that pushing comes a little bit of risk. And we've seen it just there As I've got a Williams around again in the middle sector. Playtendo, this battle is still not over with Shako Bast. Playtendo is through for the moment. Nobody of them, in fact, has DRS. So nothing going to be going on, I think, into turn 4. No, as they hold position this time. Shako Bast down to P10. Yellow flag now in sector 2. That looks to be a Williams again. So that is a lapped car. But the gap is consistent at the moment. Who is going to be taking home this victory? Despite wheel issues, apparently, for Dadopad, it's not clear at all. Half a second separating the top 2. I'm going to turn on the telemetry to maybe see if there's anything on the throttle, on the brakes. As you can see, some ERS has been saved up by both drivers now. 11% for the Juventus Racing driver. And yeah, it's pretty much identical for the two. So I'd imagine it would still be difficult to make an overtake, even if Fezzo were to come close. But that exit is not looking all too assured. The penultimate lap of the race has been started now. Fastest lap asks Evan. We'll have a look now. Fastest lap. It is set by Fezzo at this stage of the race, by a solid margin actually. But I think Jesla might just be trying to steal that now with a pit stop on the soft tyre. Same goes for Appenvet, although that could just be an AI move. But now back to the interval gaps, because those, of course, are the most important ones. And Dadopat, this is not over yet. And I think he'll be stressing out extremely at this stage of the race. One Elliott has actually almost managed to gap tails for the race in P3. So if he manages to pull this off, that would be a very impressive job. And Elliott could keep himself on the podium here, even with a time penalty. Which would certainly be very, very good to see for As1 Esports, more so for himself, that he can hold on with even this pressure still going on. Ooh, Tails in the background, struggling a little bit for traction. And I think now it's going to get very close with Elliott for that P3 spot. Looks like Elliott can hold on to it if he's really pushing enough. But now, the final lap showdown commences. Dadopad is leading this race, but only by about half a second to the Juventus Racing driver. He's going to put so much pressure under him. Now, onto this final long straight. Who is going to come out on top? Dadopad exits turn 15 for the second last time. And he's going to be defending with all his life. He's already going to the inside to defend this. And it looks like maybe he might be able to hold on. We go on board with Fezzo. Will he try dive to the inside? Oh, not quite. It looks like Bottas in 2018 a little bit on Sebastian Vettel on the final lap. But it looks like Dadopad might be able to hold on even down the second back straight. Now DRS is enabled again for Fezzo, but it's not close enough. I don't think there's a move going on for the Alpine. No, Dadopad holds the lead for the moment. He's got 2 sectors to go now to try and hold off the charging Alpine driver and pick off his second victory in a row, actually. The GSP driver. In fact, I think his 4th podium as well. He's been on the podium every single time this season so far. He's completely aced this season, if you will, of course, with that first stage being the aces stage. And P3, P2, P1, and he might just be going for another race victory here. It's the German driver. P1 it is, and currently half a second ahead of the Alpine. I don't think there's a big challenge coming. Dadopad now into this final sector. He's only got about 2 more corners to negotiate. Does he have? And I think it is looking pretty good for Aston Martin, for the German team, to be getting the spoils for the Victor's Trophy. I think this should be done now. Fezzo has got no chance, surely, to make this overtake work now. The Aston Martin has had to work hard for it, and it looks like he will get rewarded for a very, very good race. Jesla picks up the fastest lap of the race, but it is Dadopad who does manage to hold off the Alpine in the end to win the Bahrain Grand Prix. Fantastic job. Another victory for German sim racing program. Great stuff from Dadopad to hold off Fezzo, who finishes second. Elliott manages to hold on to the podium. Great stuff from him. P3 it is for As1 Esports. Tails finishes 4th for Victor's Racing Team, for the championship leaders, of course. Robin picks off P5 at the moment from Clarkey, but we'll see, of course, after the stewards, according to the chat, of course, with Clarkey's possible penalty removal. Rodas finishes in P7 for GTZ. A very quiet race, but finished the job off there. Playtendo, P8, crashed across the line, but I think normal consequence there. Just drivers, you know, finishing those races in whatever way they can. Shacklebas, P9, picks off 2 points for Virtual Racing Association. And the first point of the season immediately in the first race. Van der Beken picks off P10 in this Grand Prix. Kazar, P11, just outside of the points. XRT King in P12. Grosjean's just going to come across the line soon for P13, with Brent following right behind. Jesler, P15, currently has the fastest lap of the race and looks to be keeping it as well. And then we've got Appenvet and Mudjus already across the line. So we'll see very shortly the drivers finishing this Grand Prix. I think Jesler's actually run out of fuel out of all this, as indeed his fuel is negative. But Dadopad is your race winner for a second week running. And after starting on the front row, and with Fezzo controlling the early stage of the race, maybe not the most expected result, but a brilliant job nevertheless. Of course, the iconic gritty celebration there for Dadopad. The Aston Martin wins yet again. GSP reigns supreme in this fight for race victory. And isn't that just great to see? The team 16 points down on Victor's Racing Team, just gaining back a few more points onto this championship lead. Of course, pulling away as well from World Online Racing Esports behind. WR not fielding a driver today. Shame to see, of course. But I hope they will be back next time around. The full race results then for you in quick. Dadopad wins. Fezzo in P2 for Juventus Racing. Elliott finishes P3, even with a penalty for Aswan Esports. Tails into P4 for VRT. Robin rounds out the top 5 as it stands for Aswan Esports. Clarkey finishes P6 in that other Victor's Racing Team car. Rodas P7 for GTZ, with Playtendo in P8, the other GSP driver, starting 8th, finishing 8th. And Shacobast and Van der Beken rounding off the points for VRA and XRT. The other positions, Kazar in P11 for VRA, XRT King in 12th. Brent finishes 13th for Benelari, with Grosjean 14th, Jesler 15th, both for Team Ace. As Appenvet, a lap down, finishes in 16th. Mudjus, another lap down as well, finishes in P17. The only retirement of the race, AC for Juventus Racing. And that concludes a very action-packed Bahrain Grand Prix. And that's definitely made me very excited for the remainder of this season. 4 rounds done, another 8 to go. Just who will be winning this championship here? Dadopad reigns supreme, though, for another round. His second win of the season. And isn't that just great to see? German sim racing program out on top again and keeping up this podium streak in CTC Tier 2. Fantastic to see. And yeah, I'm sure he will be delighted with that drive. Holding off some wheel issues as well in the end, mind you, to hold off one of the fastest drivers in the split. So very, very well done. Dadopad from Germany is your race winner today. And on that note, that is a very, very good sign to round off the stream. I hope you've enjoyed this Bahrain Grand Prix as much as I have. I have been Alex the G. I hope you found this commentary good as well. And as you can see, all in one piece. Have we fixed the game finally? I certainly hope so. And fantastic racing today. And that was it from my end. So thank you very, very much for watching. And I shall catch you next time for the next stream. Goodbye.